what kind of question is not helpful? Questions like this. How can I improve? Do you have any feedback for me? How can I improve is too broad of a question. People wouldn't know how to answer it. And do you have any feedbacks for me is a closed question. People can easily answer, oh no, there's nothing I can think about right now. Emotional intelligence researchers has a very interesting finding by researching over 1 million people in their database by job title. And here is the trend. Emotional intelligence scores increases with title from the bottom of the corporate ladder upward until middle management. But from that point on, the higher up the corporate ladder you go, EQ falls steadily. CEOs on average has the lowest EQ score in the workplace. And there are two reasons for this. First is the higher up you go, there are less people available above you who can observe you and give you helpful feedbacks. And the second is the higher up you are, you have bigger team who might not feel comfortable or rewarded to say something that would very possibly displease you. So the result is the higher up you are, the less feedback you get. What this does is it takes away the chance of you raising your self-awareness, and that directly translates into lower emotional intelligence scores. Nobody's perfect, and there's always a chance you are missing something. The CEO and the author of Principles, Ray Dalio, said this. Our brains are wired to receive information about shortcomings as an attack. Yet, the rational part of our brains wants to know this information so we can do better. Asking for feedback is the most efficient way to learn about your blind spots. So how can you request for feedbacks while you are higher up in the corporate ladder? My first tip is frame the question with a focus. So, what kind of question is not helpful? Questions like this. How can I improve? Do you have any feedback for me? How can I improve is too broad of a question. People wouldn't know how to answer it. And do you have any feedbacks for me is a closed question. People can easily answer, oh no, there's nothing I can think about right now. So what are the questions that are helpful and focused? Questions like this. What can I do to improve the way I run meetings? What can I do differently on the way I reply to that question? Why do you think people react like that on my comments? My second tip for you is to ask for constructive feedbacks. That means you frame your question with 1 or 2 positive feedback and 1 or 2 negative feedbacks. And especially it's for people who are reporting to you. Once they have given you the positive feedback, they feel less confronting and more comfortable and easier to open them up to give you the negative feedback. Then you can ask, what do you think I could have done differently in that meeting? People will feel more clarity and your sincere attention to improve when they hear your tone of voice and they see your body language. So it's really helpful to let people open up to you. The next tip is give people time to think about it. Don't ask for feedback in an elevator with your employee and you know that they only have less than 1 minute to think about the answer and reply back to you. The next tip is listen. Listen doesn't mean that you stay quiet and just listen. It means that you ask a lot of questions to clarify that you have clearly understood what they are talking about. Also, when you are listening, don't try to find a way to respond or try to defend yourself, even though it might be difficult to hear that feedback. Asking a lot of questions, try to make sure that you clearly understand what they are talking about, what they mean. The next tip I have for you is to respect and reflect. Respect the person who gave you the feedback and sincerely consider what they just told you. Especially if it's a subordinate, they're already taking the risk knowing that you might not like what they're saying, but they still trust that you have the maturity to consider what they are saying and reward that bravery. When you are reflecting the feedback, trying to understand the why and context. If your team is telling you you are being too negative, you might tell yourself, well, that's not my intention at all. But think about what's very important is what has been seen and perceived. So try to reflect the reason behind what they are saying. The last tip is be thankful. If it's a subordinate, it takes a lot of courage for them to come to you and tell you something they think you need to hear. If it's a superior, also be thankful. They didn't need to do that at all, so show you value their time and effort. Alright, that's all about asking and receiving feedbacks. By now, you'll probably find that leadership and communication goes hand in hand. Actually, they are one in most of the cases. And to help you to take these theories into actions, I have 2 free resources for you. First, you can take a quiz to understand what is your influence type. By taking the quiz, you will get a customized report and to understand what to do about it. And the second resource is the 3-step workbook to help you to communicate with impact and outcome. The download link is in the comment area. If you find this video helpful, you might want to watch this video where I talk about what not to do when have a difficult conversation.